students to have this, and it was very well accepted. Although it's for the students only, the faculty and alumni and others can actually get connected to some of the apps that doesn't require authentication. So they're able to know what's happening on campus through our mobile app. Our project team consisted of 4 developers, an HTML developer, iOS for the Apple, Android, and my UWindsor portal developer. We also have a graphics designer from our public affairs and communication department, and they are responsible for the look and feel, for the graphics, and for the presentation of the mobile app. We also have a project lead analyst that facilitates and coordinates and collaborates with these developers on what's going on. So we have developed guiding principles, and we actually have not stayed away from these principles at all. And what it is are all this 4 guiding principles. The student experience on mobile device should be consistent. And because we also have a My UWindsor student portal, which was developed before the mobile app, we wanted to make sure that there was no competition between these two environments. So whatever happens in the portal, or at least what is part of the portal, will also happen in the mobile app, and vice versa. We didn't want to have people saying, I like the mobile app better than the portal, and the services are not in the portal, but it is in the mobile app. So we want to make sure that those 2 efforts and those 2 projects are well coordinated. We want to provide meaningful services, not just the fun stuff, the commercial stuff, but we want something that is really relevant to the students. Anything on their courses, anything on their campus card. For example, we have in our student portal, the students are able to look at their campus card for things like, what did I spend money on? And I lost my card. Can I hold the card and then release it immediately after I find it? So things like that. And we may think that they're not meaningful services, but in fact they are. And we spoke to the students on what they would like us to provide for them, and this is one of the things. It's really important to engage the students, and through the focus group, not just once before we developed the app, we did have focus groups with them. Then during, just actually before the implementation and launch, we did a mini launch with the students, and from our first presentation, you would have remembered that it was a different design, and the students said, well, we kind of like it this way rather than that. They like the touch screen rather than a combination of touch and menu. So we actually switched to that very, very fast, and we launched it that way. So it was very well accepted. We're also conducting a focus group pretty soon after the 1 year, and see if we're still on track with what they're looking for. So the version 1.3 release that we did in February included this, the push messages, which Jay would spend a lot of time explaining to you how we did it. It's quite interesting, and something that you can pick up if it's something that you're interested in doing. We also added the library app, which would provide the students what they have borrowed, and if there's any due dates, if they're actually are over the due date and they owe something. The Lance, which is our student newspaper, is also online. It has an app now, and additional links for the campus life. Jay will explain to you a little bit more in details on what these implementations are.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Actually, I'm just going to grab my water here quickly, just in case. So, as Parita just mentioned, one of the features that we've added to the app since its release last year are push messages. And push messages were actually part of our original design of the app, and we included it in our February 2013 update. So, When we speak about push messages in the app, what we're referring to are notifications that appear on a user's phone, and they're targeted to that specific user. And our entire guiding principle behind the app is that we want to leverage services that we already have available through our student portal and other systems on campus. So what that happens here is that these push messages are automatically triggered by events that occur in other systems. So for example, our CLUE, our learning management system, when a professor posts an announcement for a class, everyone in that class, if they have the app installed, will get a push notification about that announcement. And when they tap that message on their device, it will open up the app and display the full text of that announcement for them. So this is a great service, but why do we want to have it in our app? Well, when we released the app last year, it allowed students to access the information about their courses, their grades, etc., from absolutely anywhere. They have their phone on them all the time, so they'll always have access to that information. But that initial release of the app, they could only benefit from it if they were actively using the application. If they had their phone out, it was in their hands, and they were actually using the app. With push notifications, they still get to benefit from being connected to the university, but in a passive way. If there's a notification, their phone will buzz or ring, and then they will know that, hey, there was an announcement posted for this class. The assignment grades have been posted, messages like that. So they can benefit from it without actually having to have the phone in their hands. So it's a great technology to have in the app, but it can only be effective if we use it responsibly. So we have a philosophy about what is a good way to do push notifications and what is a bad way. What we want to have are push notifications that have content the user wants to see. It needs to be relevant to them. If we just send out a bunch of messages they don't care about, they're just going to start ignoring them or turn it off altogether. The content should be concise. They should be able to know exactly what this message is regarding and who this message is from at a glance. We don't want it to be very long-winded or have the titles be ambiguous and they're not really sure what's going on. And we don't want to constantly bombard the user with messages. We don't want to be intrusive. Because if we start sending way too many messages, again, they're just going to start ignoring them or they'll turn off the notifications altogether. And of course, students do have the option to opt in and opt out of the push service. So when I was preparing this presentation, does anybody here have the NHL app installed on their phone by chance? I got a couple of people. So back in May, the NHL was starting to announce the nominees for their end of the season player awards. And the NHL was so excited about who was nominated for the Masterson Trophy that they decided to send me the same notification 3 times in the span of about half an hour. And when you tap on this notification, it opens up the app, and that full text there at the bottom saying who it is appears on the bottom of the screen for about 2 seconds, then disappears, and there's nowhere else in the app you can read it. So it's information that's not really relevant to me. They told me about it 3 times in a row, and when I tapped on the notification, I didn't even get the full text long enough to see what it was saying. So this is an example of what we don't want to do. We established this as our 4 principles for how we're going to do push well. To make sure that the content in these notifications is relevant to the users, we have 2 sources of notifications. Our LMS CLUE, where every time there's a class announcement posted, the students will get that announcement as a push message on their phone, and also the directed messaging service through our student portal. They will also receive those messages as well. The message content is succinct, and when they tap on the notification, it opens up the app and displays the full content of that message. And for CLUE messages, it also includes the course code of the application. Pardon me, not of the application, of the course, pardon me. We did some analysis before we went ahead implementing this service, and we determined the average user is going to receive about 5 messages a week. So they are getting the messages, but not so many that they're going to be flooded with notifications. And of course, the service is opt-in. For those of you with iPhones, you probably know that when you install an app that has push notifications, you're prompted immediately the first time you run the app if you want to receive the notifications or not. Android doesn't actually prompt you when you first run the app, so we implemented our own first run dialog saying that the app does have push notifications. You can opt in if you wish, and the user can configure this setting later on in the app preferences if they either want to turn it on or off again. So that's how conceptually we want to do push. Now I'm going to get a bit more into the technical implementation. So we have over 10,000 devices right now that have our application installed between iOS and Android. And part of our philosophy is we want to send push notifications to specific users. The content of the message is going to target specific users. So the challenge is who has which device or devices, because it's entirely possible, in fact, quite likely nowadays, that a student is going to have both a smartphone and a tablet. and they may want to receive notifications on both devices. So we need to make sure that a user can have multiple devices registered to them. And we need a way to map these users to specific devices. And we need to do this for both iOS and Android, our current platforms. And it should also be expandable if we move to other platforms in the system, such as Blackberry 10, Windows Phone, or whatever the new ecosystem is 2-3 years from now. And we need it to be scalable and reliable because we expect the app user base to continue to grow. It's been a steady increase over the last year, and that number is only going to go up. So we looked at 3 different ways that we could potentially implement a push message strategy. The first one is pretty basic, using SMS or text messages. We also looked at doing in-house push. Now, when I say in-house push, what I mean is we develop the infrastructure for tracking the devices and mapping user IDs to those specific devices, and we're also the ones that communicate with the Apple and Google push services to get those messages to iOS and Android devices, respectively. And the third option was third-party push providers, where we use another company that already provides a service for mapping user IDs to devices and communicating with those cloud messaging services. So the first option, text messages, one advantage is that they don't even need to have the app installed, and it'll work on phones where we don't have a native presence. But the downsides are it's expensive, both for us and for the students if they don't have an unlimited texting plan. The users become tied to an individual phone number. So if the user were to ever change their phone number and then somebody else gets that phone number and the student hasn't deactivated the push tied to that number, then somebody else is going to start getting their class notifications, and we're going to get a lot of complaints about that. On a lot of phones, these text messages are just going to go into a general inbox. There's no way to differentiate our messages and have them, in a special segregated place in the notifications. And it's not going to work on any devices that don't have a cellular connection, such as tablets. So if we do in-house push, where we keep track of the devices and communicate with the cloud messaging services ourselves, there's no cost to students in doing that. And we get to leverage the platform's native notification frameworks, which means that it's going to be very obvious that the notification up there is from our app, and there's an announcement that the student should be reading. But still, it's costly for us, both in terms of the infrastructure we would need to keep track of this, as well as the development time we would need to get a service that's as reliable as it needs to be for this to work well. But the downside of this, as well, is that it only supports native platforms. So devices that you can install a native app on, they wouldn't be able to get the push notifications. So third-party push has all of the advantages of our in-house push, but at the same time, it's less cost and development time for us because we're leveraging a service that's already out there. But still, it's only going to work on platforms with native support. So all 3 of the options have some pros and some cons, but third-party push by far has the most advantages and the least disadvantages. So we decided this was the route that we wanted to go, but there are a number of services out there that provide this sort of functionality. So we needed to pick one. And we consulted with some local application developers. There's a local company in Windsor called Red Piston that does a lot of really neat mobile apps for companies all over North America and around the world. And they initially consulted us when we were doing our initial design for the app as well. So we brought them back in because they have a lot of experience doing push notifications in their applications. And they recommended a service called Urban Airship. Urban Airship is based out of Portland, Oregon, and they're going to provide us with the third-party support we need to power our push notifications. They're going to allow us to map our UWinIDs, which are unique usernames for individual students. And they support all of our platforms and more. We have native support on iOS and Android right now, and Urban Airship also provides push support for Blackberry, Windows 8, and Windows Phone 8. There are a few other features that Urban Airship provides as well. There's actually quite an extensive toolkit beyond push notifications. They also provide us with application usage statistics, and they also have a service called location-based push. So say, for example, we wanted to send push notifications only to students that are on campus, for example. Urban Airship provides us the ability to do that. Now, that's not something that we're utilizing at the moment, but the university is currently in the process of expanding our campus to the downtown core. So there will be some programs and a lot of students that are going to be downtown rather than on our main campus on the west side of the city. So we may be able to get some use out of that when that time comes. So a lot of the reasons we chose Urban Airship, beyond that they were recommended by Red Piston, our consultants, the service is very affordable. Compared to the cost of developing this in-house and maintaining that infrastructure, Urban Airship is by far and away the financially the best choice. It was very easy to integrate the service with our existing application. We really had to do almost nothing extra in our code base to get that to work. It also shields us from the particular details of the push services for each platform. When you're sending a push notification to an iOS device or to an Android device, you have to go through either APNS, which is the Apple Push Notification Service, or GCM, which is Google Cloud Messaging. And at the Google I/O conference last month, pardon me, Google announced that there were some changes upcoming to the Google Cloud Messaging API. We don't have to worry about that at all in our application. Urban Airship takes care of all of those changes for us. And last but certainly not least, they satisfy FIPA requirements. They're not tracking any information about our users. So there are a lot of other organizations out there that are using Urban Airship successfully. Just 6 on the screen here: Oracle, Waze, ABC News, ESPN, Groupon, AccuWeather. This is about 6 of a couple dozen they have listed on their website. So they're being used by many different organizations, and they're having a lot of success with it. So the reason, of course, why we needed Urban Airship is we need a way to associate users with devices. And Urban Airship identifies devices in 3 different ways. When a user opts in for push notifications, each device is automatically assigned a unique device ID by Urban Airship. So it's a one-to-one relationship. Every device has a unique ID. You can also optionally set an alias for a device, which is an optional string label that gets associated with that particular device ID. Each device can have one alias, but an alias can be associated with multiple devices. Tags are similar to aliases, except that you can have multiple tags on a device, and a tag can also be associated with multiple devices. So we use these IDs in the following way. We target our push messages using aliases and using tags. When a user successfully opts in for push and signs into the application, the alias for that device is set to the user's UWin ID. And the tag for the device is set some additional information. So for example, if a user is not logged in on the device, we set a no ID tag to inform them that there's not actually a user associated with this device. We also tag the application version as well. So if we need to inform users that an older version of the app is no longer going to be supported, we can target messages to those specific versions, informing them that they need to upgrade, otherwise the app may stop functioning for them. And so we have the ability to broadcast also to every device that's registered to receive push, but we don't do this. And again, this goes back to our principles for push messages. We want to send messages that are specifically targeted to the users. We don't really have a use case where we need to send the same message to absolutely everybody. So this is a bit of an infrastructure overview of how we set up our push service. So on the left-hand side in that box, that all sits on campus. These are all of our services, which include our learning management system, directed messaging, as well as other future services we may integrate with the app. So they all communicate with a push gateway web service, which does all of the communication back and forth with Urban Airship. We also keep a log of all of the data we're sending to Urban Airship as well, just so we can keep track of that if something comes up and we need to look at the logs to make sure things are working properly. So the push gateway is going to send a message that includes the UWin IDs of all the users that message is targeted to, and as well as the title of the message, the content that's going to appear in the notification. So Urban Airship takes that list of UWin IDs and looks to see which devices have an alias that match those UWin IDs, and it sends the message to those devices, either through APNS or Google Cloud Messaging. So as of May 13th, we have 7,356 devices registered to receive push notifications, and that is 85% of all versions of all installs of the application that are compatible with the push messages. So 17 out of every 20 users with the app has elected to receive push messages, and we think that's a really fantastic number, and I think it speaks to our philosophy behind push, delivering content that's valuable to the users. So I'm going to turn things back over to Parita for a second, who's going to introduce the version that we just released last week, actually.
So we're very excited about this new release as well. The release actually coincided with our presentation of our new logo. The university has a new logo. I think Jay has the there, and you'll see it also on the app, and also the 50th anniversary celebration that starts this time for the University of Windsor. So we thought it was a good thing. The university thought it was a good thing that we would also launch our new mobile app. The update included mobile registration, course registration, it's a true mobile app, so it's not, they're not a bunch of links or things like that, but we're very proud of introducing that. And as I said, the new university logo, selectable backgrounds that were provided by our publications department, and some academic information queries that are now serviced through our new UWindsor library server. So Jay will explain more about the mobile registration, but I think it is safe for us to say, we did some searches, that either we are the first or one of the first Canadian universities that is providing a true mobile app in our mobile application offering.
All right. So the mobile registration, it leverages features that are already available in our student portal. And again, this goes back to our guiding principles for the application development. We're not really developing any new services to go into the app, but the app is providing another way for students to access the services we already have. So we already have a registration, obviously, in our student portal, and a course planner feature, which is key to how the registration behaves in the mobile app. So going back to our new design, this is our new logo. The University of Windsor is celebrating their 50th anniversary this year, and the new app and this new branding launched just last week. So if you haven't seen this before and it's brand new to you, well, it's brand new to us too. And the application also went a bit of a makeover, just styling it for the new branding. We have our old application there on the left, new application over there on the right. On the screen here, it's a bit low resolution, doesn't really do it justice, but if you can actually download and take a look at the app for yourselves, the new look is really it really pops off the screen. It's really nice. So back to mobile registration. Mobile registration, as I was saying, leverages features we already have in our student portal, and we're just now providing them in the mobile application. So there's two key components to how this mobile registration works. We have our course planner, where students can search for courses on the device, find the courses they want to take next semester, and add them to a planner. It's very much like an online checkout system. If you shop online, you go, you pick the product you want, add it to your cart, and then you do the checkout. The registration would be the checkout in that process, where the student, when their appointment time for registration actually comes, they'll go into the app and they can register for all the courses in their planner with a single button push. So I'm just going to show you some of the screens here. This is a screenshot of the course search feature in the app. So students would come here, they would enter in the term, the subject, they can search by the level, first year, second year, third year courses, or by the course code if they are looking for a specific course. And when they execute the search, they'll get a results list back. Now, on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see there's a little plus button there. When the student taps the plus button, that adds the course to their planner. They'll get a notification saying it was added to their planner. Now, when they add it to the planner, it doesn't automatically register them for the course. They still need to go back when their registration time comes and tap the register button to actually get signed up. If they go over to the courses section, this will list all the courses they are currently registered in for the semester, and also if in their planner they have any courses in their planner for that semester, they'll see them at the bottom there as well. So also under the course planner, there's a button to go to the registration page. There's also a tab at the bottom of this screen where they can go to the registration page directly, but we also link to it from the courses page here. So if they go to the course registration page, once their appointment time comes, they'll see this interface here. All the courses for that semester that are in their planner will appear at the bottom of the screen there. And at the very bottom, there's a button for registering for the courses. They tap that button, and it signs them up for all of the courses. If there's any conflicts, or say, for example, a course is full, they'll receive a notification for that when they tap the registration button. Otherwise, they would just receive a confirmation message that they're now registered for those courses. So with version 1.4 of the app, we've also started moving our student portal to a new platform. Originally, our student portal was powered by Oracle Portal, and now we're transitioning to the LifeRay portal. And this change is entirely transparent to users. They don't have to do anything. All the links are properly redirecting. So to them, it doesn't look like anything's changed, but behind the scenes, a lot has changed for us. All of the features in the app, well, I shouldn't say all of them, almost all of them, such as academics and finance, all of that data comes through our student portal. So when we change it on the back end, instead of pulling that data from our Oracle portal, we're now pulling it from our LifeRay portal. It's a staged rollout, so as of right now, some features are still running off the Oracle portal and some features are still running off the LifeRay portal, but by the end of the summer, we expect to have all of the features moved over to LifeRay. So compared to Oracle portal, LifeRay is providing us with several benefits specific to the mobile application. Well, improved performance, I shouldn't say, is specific to the mobile application, but that is one of the benefits. LifeRay is making developing a mobile view of the data coming from the portal a lot easier. With Oracle portal, we didn't have the same degree of freedom to style the application exactly how we wanted it, but with LifeRay, we essentially have a clean slate to make the mobile pages look like whatever we want. And also, the service layer of the portlets that are powering this application can be easily exposed as web services. So right now, most of the features in the app are pages on the portal that are rendered with a mobile-specific style. But if in the future we saw that there was a feature that would behave better as an actual native interface on the app, we can easily expose all of the web services that portlet uses and have the app use those instead to build a native interface. With Oracle portal, we didn't really have a way to do that. We would have had to build all of those interfaces ourselves, separate from the portlet itself. So now that we have the LifeRay portal, this positions us to expose a lot more services that are already available in our desktop portal in the mobile app, such as checking the progress towards your degree. You can apply to graduate, register your clicker for interacting in class, update your address. It's an entirely new ballgame in terms of how we can implement these features in the app. So moving on to some overall trends we've noticed over the past year of having the app. This is a graph indicating usage. It says iOS platform, but the graph for Android honestly looks identical. So you can see there on the far left, we have our rollout on May the 17th. So would anybody care to point out where the weekends, the 52 weekends over the past year might be? Probably the little dips in the graph. And also you can see we have the spike of our most usage is at the beginning of the semesters, fall and winter. And you can also notice that it seems to spike a little bit during exams as well. And you can also see we had a nice little valley there right around the end of February. I'm guessing that was probably study week. I thought that our students, were hitting the books then, but apparently they're not. It's not sure what's going on there, but so we had a group of students in the fall approach us over this past year. Joseph Savka approached us about a business class that he was in, and they needed to do a market research project. And he asked if we would be interested in having them do a project seeing student perception of the app. And we said, absolutely. We really hadn't had a formal study done yet to indicate what student perception was. We had heard a lot of feedback from students, but not in a formal survey like this. So they did a survey and polled 149 students. Normally, a market research survey would have a larger base, so it's not really an entirely scientific result, but it is giving us a pretty good indication of student perception of the app. So they looked at a number of different areas and areas to question about the application. So I'm going to focus on three key ones here. The first is to determine if students are aware that we have an application. The second is to determine students' attitudes towards the application. And finally, see how often, how much they're using the app. So we saw that 87% of the students on campus, or 80% of the students surveyed, had heard of the application. And over half of them have heard about the application from word of mouth. So the app generated a lot of buzz on campus, and it's good to see that students are talking about it. Next is students' attitudes towards the app. There's actually quite a few categories, about a dozen, that they probed into students' attitudes, but I'm just going to highlight the 6 key ones here. We have 51% of students agreeing that the application's layout is good, compared to 15% who don't like it. An overwhelming majority of students feel the app is easy to navigate, it's easy to use, and overall that it's a good app. But we still do have some areas to improve. As you can see, only 29% of students feel that the app isn't, or pardon me, almost 30% of students definitely feel that the app is missing some key features. and only 30% as well agree that the app is missing no key features. So we've got about 70% of students that still want to see some more services offered in the app. So we've still got a ways to go there, but the app is a continuing process. So we're on our way, we think, with the features we've added in the last year and features we're planning on adding in the future. And finally, how often are students using the application? How much are they using it? We found that over 3/4 of our students use the application at least once a week, and when they do use it, it's for an average of about 5 minutes, which is exactly what we were looking for, an easy way for students to take out their phone, see when their classes are, check their grades. That's exactly what we were hoping for. So I'm going to do a little bit of a demonstration here, and by demonstration I mean I'm going to show you some of the pages that are within the application here. So when you first launch the app, you're going to see this icon menu here. It's 2 pages of icons that display all of the features that are available within the application. So the top row of icons really highlights all of the information that is specific to students, to individual students. So they need to sign in to see those features. That includes their course grades, course schedules, registration, financial account summary, meal card balance, messages from directed messaging, and messages from our learning management system. And there's also another menu that they can access, which is basically an index of all the features that are within the app. So they can scroll through this list if they're looking for something specific and find what they're looking for in there. So when the student first goes to access one of the features they need to authenticate for, they will be prompted for their ID and password. And they have the option when they sign in to have the app remember their password so they don't have to sign in every time they want to pull this data. They also have the option of saving just their username so that they don't have to enter their username every time, but they would have to enter their password. So this is the courses section. It defaults to the current semester, showing all of the courses that they're registered in, and they can also look at the next semester as well to see what courses are in their planner or courses that they're registered in for next semester. They can also see their grades for all the semesters going back to when they first started. A list of all the exam times for the various semesters. They can also do a course search as well. You saw the course search a little bit when I was showing off the registration interface. And here's the registration interface again. If the user comes to this page, and well, I should explain a little bit more here. Through the application, you can only register courses that are in your course planner. On our student portal, you can actually go in and enter in a course code and register directly from this page, but just to make it a little bit easier on the application, we don't want to have them entering in too much data. We'd like to have them just do tabs. It's a little bit easier that way. This is an example of some of the financial information. This is showing their balance from the previous semester, if they have any tuition outstanding, any overpayments that they're going to get refunded for. That's all displayed here. They can also do a search for awards that they're eligible for as well. And this is the messages section. So right now, this student only happens to have one message, but during the semester, any announcement that gets posted to one of their class websites or any directed messages they receive will appear in this notification inbox. And when they receive a push notification, the push notifications are for these messages. So every message that they get a notification for, they can go in here and see it with the title and who it's from. There's also, you can check out campus news on the app as well. This is an example of our daily news service showing all the top stories. They can also search for campus events as well, displaying all the activities that are going on campus that week. There's also a campus directory, so if you're looking for somebody on campus, looking for their office, looking for their phone number, email address, you can search for them directly in the app. So if I search for myself, I get my information there. There's also a map button on link there as well. When they tap that, it'll open up the campus map button, or the campus map feature, and it'll show on campus where that person is located. It's also a campus life section that links to the numerous departments and services on campus, links to their pages. The library is one of the features that we added in February. So students can go in here and they can search the catalog. It also says when the library is open. If they tap on the My Library account feature, that's going to sign them in to our library system. That's also a seamless sign-on. And it'll display all of the books that they have checked out, when they checked it out, and when their due date is, and if they have any outstanding fines. We also link to our social media pages within the app. So our Facebook and Twitter accounts, you can see those feeds from right within the application. So this is our Twitter feed from Friday. So some information here, the gold bands that are woven through the W of our new logo, they represent our importance location on the international border, as well as the journey our students take to become members of our alumni. So that was new to me as well. So this is the preference section. So this is where they configure all of the settings within the app. As I mentioned earlier, when they first open the app, they are prompted whether or not they want to receive push notifications, and that configures this setting here. They can come back to this preference page and turn on push notifications. They can toggle it on or off as they please. They also have the ability to manage their user ID and password. So if they've elected to save their username and password, they can go in there and wipe it out if they want to, change it so that it just saves their username, or take it out completely. You can also change the background within the app. One of the feedback that we got from students when we first launched the app is that they'd like it to be a little bit more personalizable. So we put in some changeable backgrounds. So for example, this is a University of Windsor Lancers background celebrating our sports teams. We also have a background celebrating our 50th anniversary. And there's several other backgrounds as well, and we tend to add a few every time we update the app. So the app is a continuing effort. We're targeting our next major release to be in September of 2013. We just launched our latest version last week, so we're still in the planning stages of this. We haven't hammered down exactly what features are going to be available, but like with all the other versions, we want to hear student feedback. This app is really driven by student feedback. It's there to provide service to our students, and we can only do that if we're giving them the features that they want. So we're hoping to get some good feedback from our last version, and that's going to dictate where we're going next. So thank you all for attending our session. If you have any questions, I and Parita would be happy to answer them for you. Thank you. Hi, yes.
You mentioned that about 7,500 devices are subscribing to it. What percentage of the student population does that account for?
We have about 17,000 full-time equivalent students on campus. Now that's 7,500 devices. That's not necessarily 7,500 unique students if some students have multiple devices. We're probably looking in the range of, I'd say, 4,000 to 5,000 students likely that have the application installed. So that's about a third of what we're looking at. And that number has steadily grown over the last year, so we expect it to continue to grow in the fall. Hi, yes?
Given the app is designed to improve student experience, I'm just wondering if there's a strategy in place with enrollment. In particular, I'm interested in time of graduation and metrics. Is there anything in place to work on those kinds of benefits that are?
Well, the app right now is mostly targeted towards current students. It's not targeted as of yet towards recruitment or for visitors to campus. That's not to say that they can't use the app. If they download it, they do have access to the campus map features and other things to help them navigate their way around the university. We do link to a lot of the pages on campus for student services. So while it may not actually be an icon in the app, they can still access that information through the app. And we're constantly looking at new features to add, and we also have a number of departments on campus saying, hey, we'd love to be in the app. How can we do that? And we're working with them to get their data mobile ready and trying to include it in the app where we can. So it is an ongoing process, and we're not entirely there yet in terms of providing 100% of our data in a mobile way, but we're definitely getting there. Hi, yes.
You mentioned a team of developers and a graphic designer and a project lead at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those people are on the project full time?
None of us have 100% of the time dedicated towards the app. We're probably, it varies depending on how close we are to a release and what features we're adding, but none of us are working 100% on the app.
Do you have approximately how much time? How many FTE?
Approximately, Pritzi may have a better idea.
Like, because the mobile app, because once it's already launched, it's I shouldn't say not a lot of maintenance. I think one of the things that when you're doing planning such as this, you want to set up an app that is sustainable, that you don't have to answer the phone calls because it's not working and all that. So we've been pretty lucky that it's been pretty stable. So when we do those launch and the planning and all that, we do a lot of them, and then we sort of stage them into so that we can plan that and So I guess in terms of FPE, for example, like Jay doesn't work just on a mobile app. He actually, that's probably, I would say, something, if I could quantify it, it's probably maybe 25% of his work, but he's on other projects. And our analyst is the same way, our project lead. So we have positioned ourselves that way. Now, I just want to correct that 17,000 students is full-time and part-time. So I don't want the government to send us more money.
Oh.
It's saying that we have 17,000 full-time people.
Another thing just to add to that is that some of the features that we develop for the app also come from other services as well. So we have a developer that works on our student portal, and a lot of his work has gone into the application as well. Our web team is developing, or did develop, an entire mobile view of our website, and a lot of those pages we've integrated into the app. So a lot of the time that has gone into features that are in the app aren't used exclusively by the app. So that's why it's hard to pin down a real exact number. Hi, yes.
Any plans for emergency notification?
That's a very good question. We do have an emergency alert system already in place on campus, and we're not going to do it through the notification system in the app. The reason is because these application notifications coming from Google and Apple, they're not guaranteed delivery. It's not 100%. And if there is an emergency notification going out that someone's life can depend on, we don't want it going through a service where we can't guarantee delivery. We already have another alert notification that will do phone calls and text messages, so that's what we're using for our emergency notification. Yes?
So you do major releases every couple months. Do you have the ability to do incremental releases or bug fixes?
Yeah, we do that as well. Bug fixes sometimes require an actual update to the native app. But for example, if we just want to change the order of the icons on the screen, or if we want to have them point to different URLs, there's a configuration file that the app checks for updates periodically, and it can be updated that way so the user doesn't actually have to go update the app from the App Store. Yes?
You look at third-party development app platforms.
Yes. When we brought in Red Piston initially, we were consulting with them, and we were still determining whether we were going to do the development in-house or whether we were, say, going to have Red Piston do it for us, and then we would update that application. So we did choose to go the native route after considering that. We did also look at platforms like PhoneGap. This application development started about 2 years ago, and at that time when we took a look at it, we didn't quite feel that those platforms were where we wanted them to be, so we'd be comfortable using them. If somebody was looking, though, at starting app development today and they were going to do it from scratch, I know that those platforms have matured a lot in the last couple of years, so it definitely could be a viable option. At the time, we were a little concerned about whether or not that would give us what we needed.
I think the other thing, too, was like Red Piston was pretty good. They're actually, some of them, or at least one of them, was a former student at the University of Windsor, so they're very collaborative, and it wasn't, their approach was not, I want this business, so they want this to be successful. I think the challenge at that time, or at least our premise at that time, is the university wanted us to provide mobile app right away, like in months. So if Red Piston took that project, they have to understand our business. They have to understand our student portal and what services we can offer. So the decision was made at that time to, I think we have enough information and enough ability to actually provide it sooner than later than what Red Piston could do. But that's not an impossibility for other people. The other thing, I think, the strategy that I think you have to think about is, for example, we have third-party applications. Everybody does. We have in-house applications. One of the things that we would like to have in our strategy is when you're building something, you think about mobile. Is this a mobile? Is there a mobile application? Should it be a mobile presence? So you also don't want to develop one for the mobile and one for the desktop and one for this. So we want to be able to say develop ones, and then basically the mobile is just the front end to that service. When you're looking